Chapter 21 Taking Stock of Xiaogang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wu Xing was still busy writing, but he didn't know that two women in Tiando Royal Academy had doubts about his identity and were looking for Zhang Minghui to verify his information. After complaining about Go system for a while, I feel much better and my thoughts are clearer. Let's talk about something else next. Let's talk about Xiaogang. I think many people were curious when we talked about him last time. After all, this is about the Pope's crown prince, and it can't always be right. Beauty Donger, I'm doing this all for your own good. You don't mind, right? You shouldn't do anything to me, right? Wuhuan City, the Pope's palace. Bibi Dongyu slapped her hand on the table and said angrily, "How dare you, Wu Xing, to point fingers at this Pope? Don't let this Pope see you. Otherwise this Pope will definitely want you to look good." That she was very angry, and wanted to pluck out Wu Xing's skin, saying, Xiaogang, just Xiaogang, what are you doing to involve this Pope in this weird way? Bibi Dong could imagine that many women might be eager to watch her show at this time. How could she, as the Pope, accept this? The most important thing is that she can still be seen by her daughter who is far away in the Tiando Empire, and she feels like she is dead in society. The damn guy kept saying it was for her own good, but if it was for her own good, how could he reveal her dark history to everyone? Huliena on the side couldn't help but shuddered when she saw the teacher's destructive look, but she couldn't help but look forward to it. Although this was a bit bad, she couldn't help it. Of course, I didn't dare to show any expression on my face. If I were thrown into the canyon of death by the teacher, it would be the end of me. Xiaogang, this person was born in the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family. However, due to the malignant mutation of his martial soul, he turned into the useless martial soul Luo Sanpao. As a result, he was unable to break through level 30 for the rest of his life and was expelled from the family. At first glance, do you think this guy is pitiful? But then you should open your eyes and take a closer look to see if he is worthy of pity. After being expelled from his family, he already had a grudge against the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family, so he joined the Wuhuan Temple, which had a bad relationship with the family. He said he was dedicated to studying theoretical knowledge, but his purpose was just to pass the Wuhuan Temple. With the huge foundation of the palace, he can build his reputation on the mainland, so that everyone can be short-sighted towards the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family. For this reason, it can be said that he has no morals at all. He deceived the feelings of Donger Beauty, who was still a saint at the time, and used her feelings to increase his influence. Later, he was expelled from the Wuhuan Palace. He went to the Wuhuan Palace with a grudge and took Tang San as his disciple. You must know that although he was expelled, Donger Beauty missed his old relationship and did not dismiss him as an honorary elder. But what did this guy do? He knew clearly that there was a conflict between Wuhuan Palace and Haotian sect, but he went to cultivate people from hostile forces. Poor Donger Beauty, I can only say that my heart is feeding the dog. Working hard to cultivate, all kinds of resources are used by him, but in the end, he is a white-eyed wolf, no, more hateful than a white-eyed wolf. At least the white-eyed wolf just does not accept the kindness of his master, but he will not raise enemies to deal with himself. What's more, it was the previous pope who expelled him, and he had nothing to do with Donger Beauty. On the contrary, Donger Beauty still defended her at all times. Do you think this kind of person is a white-eyed wolf? Is it ungrateful? This Xiaogang is so useless, he's just a wallflower. Seeing this, some beauties couldn't help but curse Xiaogang, a scumbag. Although the Wuhuan Palace was not friendly with some of the forces they belonged to, Xiaogang's actions made the girls particularly disgusted, even more disgusting than the double-standard Tang San. Not only does he deceive a woman's feelings for his own purpose, but he also cultivates enemies to take revenge. Such a man deserves death. Poor people must be hateful. Xiaogang, a white-eyed wolf, uses what can be used and throws away what cannot be used. In his eyes, only his own reputation is the most important. What's particularly ridiculous is that this guy also said that there are no useless martial arts spirits, only useless soul masters. If you are not a waste, but rely on your own martial soul to get up and use your own martial soul to silence others, why do you do things that endanger the Martial Soul Palace while taking the resources given by the Martial Soul Palace as a matter of course? The title of the Golden Iron Triangle is also funny. The three people's martial soul fusion skills can completely use Lu Erlong's Fire Dragon as the main force. That way the power released will be more powerful, but he uses his own martial soul Luo Sanpao as the leader. The intentions can be imagined. Don't say it can't be done, since all martial soul fusion skills can be used, it's not an easy matter who takes the lead. In a word, I hope that Beauty Donger and Beauty Lu Erlong will see clearly the face of this guy, and stop getting themselves into it, and end up being hurt by love. Although I am not a good person, and I will never forget you, I will never be so heartless, nor will I dislike the old. I am sincere to everyone. If you are willing, you can consider me. Okay, that's all for today. My girlfriend has come out, so I'll go first. See you all tomorrow. As Wu Xing wrote the last line, the girls also finished reading the diary he updated today. Ning Rongrong, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zhuqing looked at each other, and finally their eyes fell on Yu Xiaojiang in front of them, and they all shuddered. If they were not the owner of the diary, they would never have imagined that the always gentle and elegant master Yu Xiaojiang would be such a person, and he would do so many shameful things. It is true that a person cannot be judged by his appearance, and the sea cannot be measured. In the Pope's palace, Hulaina was shocked after reading Wu Xing's updated diary. She looked at the teacher who had completely darkened her face in fear, not knowing what to do. She didn't expect that her mentor, the Pope whom she respected the most, would be deceived by a scumbag. If she had a chance, she would definitely make the life of Yu Xiaojiang who hurt the teacher worse than death. After reading these diaries with uncertainty, Bibi Dong kept clenching and relaxing her white hands. After several repetitions, she suppressed the anger in her chest and said, Nana, pass on the order and remove Yu Xiaojiang from the spirit hall. As an honorary elder, I also order to find out if Tang San is from the Haotian sect. Yes, teacher. Hulaina happily accepted the order after hearing this. She was really worried that the teacher would not be able to get out. Now that she listened to this order, she was also happy for her teacher. Yu Xiaojiang, Yu Xiaojiang, I used to protect you so much, but I didn't expect that you were secretly planning to take revenge on me. Bibi Dong was still thinking about some old feelings, but at this moment, all of them disappeared. She knew what the owner of the diary said as soon as she looked it up, and there was no need to worry about the truth or falsehood of what Wu Xing said. At this moment, in the Tiando Palace, Qian Renshue closed the copy of the diary and her eyes flickered a few times. She didn't care about what Yu Xiaojiang did. She just wanted to know why the woman ended up with him since she liked someone else. The father came together. She had a strong feeling, and as long as she knew the reason, she would understand why that woman didn't like her so much. Thinking of this, Qian Renshue picked up the pen and paper in front of the table and began to write carefully on it. When the pen came down, she folded it and sealed it in a bag. She summoned a confidant and asked him to deliver the letter to her grandfather. Chapter 22 System Upgrade. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding! It is detected that the host has completed a new diary and obtained a teleportation card, transfer card. What transfer card? As the system rewards were distributed, Wu Xing couldn't help but be startled. He was used to the modern rewards these days, and he couldn't react when something like this suddenly happened. Taking the card out of the diary warehouse, Wu Xing took a quick look and couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. Teleportation card, permanent. You can specify any place in the current world for teleportation. It can only be teleported once a day, and the times cannot be superimposed. Wu Xing, who saw the annotation on the teleportation card, repeatedly called him good guy. With this thing, where can he go in the entire Douluo Continent? And this function is not as simple as it seems. If you are in danger, you can use this skill to escape at any time. It is equivalent to having a life-saving means. The author no longer has to worry about my safety. Even if he meets a powerful beauty, he doesn't have to be afraid of being arrested. After all, some beauties are not easy to get along with, like Bibi Dong and Qian Renshue. Even though he teased Huan in the diary, he really wants to let her get along with her. Now that he was face to face, he was still very weak, but with this card it was different. He didn't have to worry about being found and imprisoned. He could escape at any time if things went wrong. Wu Xing happily put the teleportation card into the package. Just as he was about to open the diary system to share his rewards with those beauties, the system's voice suddenly sounded in his mind again. Ding, the detection host diary has been updated continuously for a week, the diary system has been upgraded, and the current level is LV2. The LV2 diary system opens the following functions. 1. The friend column is open. Each diary holder needs to face each other to add friends. After adding, both parties can chat in real time, even across the world. 2. Open upload function, not limited to screenshots, photos, videos, live broadcasts, etc., only for hosts. After listening to the system prompts, Wu Xing was stunned for a while, but he quickly came back to his senses. After all, he had read many similar diary novels and knew that so many functions would be opened. It's just that he didn't expect the system to be upgraded so quickly, but it was upgraded after a week of writing. So when will the next upgrade be? 1 month or 1 year? Wu Xing is still very interested in this point, because as the system is upgraded, there will be more and more functions, which will bring many benefits to him. At the same time, the sound of system upgrade also reached the minds of the girls. After learning about the open function of the diary copy, Wu Xing was more surprised than Wu Xing. Especially in those worlds where information transmission is relatively backward, the friend function is simply unparalleled for them. Even in Douluo Continent, it is the same. At this moment, Bibi Dong and Qian Renxue immediately thought of multiple uses. With the friend function, they can communicate immediately and know about any major events wherever they happen. The execution plan does not need to be notified in advance, avoiding accidents that may occur during mid-transmission. Just as everyone was marveling at the powerful friend function, Wu Xing asked how long it would take for the system to be upgraded to level 3, but he didn't get any response, so he had to give up the idea for now. Opening the diary and finding the upload function, Wu Xing sent the reward he had just received to it. Ladies and gentlemen, we meet again. I originally wanted to chat with you tomorrow, but you must have heard the system upgrade prompt. So I'm online again and let you see the rewards I got today. After receiving the reminder that the diary had been updated, all the beauties subconsciously flipped through it, wondering why the owner of the diary had appeared again. However, their eyes widened when they saw it, and they stared at the card information, unable to calm down for a long time. Shouldn't this reward be so exaggerated? Didn't you just say that the rewards given to you by the system are very flattering? Is this called crotch pulling? I'm afraid you don't know what you are giving us. When the girls complained about Wu Xing, subtitles appeared again on the page of the diary copy. With this card, I don't have to worry about safety in the future. I can still run away if I can't be beaten, and I don't have to worry about one of you finding me and imprisoning me to restrict my personal freedom. Of course, I don't want that to happen. After all, I am sincere to you. Seeing what Wu Xing said, a hint of embarrassment appeared on the faces of some women. Some of them did have this idea, but when the other party had this card, the idea disappeared. Then when they saw Wu Xing's words of sincerity, all the girls rolled their eyes. If you were sincere, why didn't you show up and keep hiding what you meant? Okay, I'll log off first. I came up suddenly this time just to remind you that the beauty system diary has been upgraded. See you tomorrow. After all the girls read this, their hearts were full of slander. Are you calling us here to remind us? Not here to show off Versailles. Cursing secretly, after seeing that the text no longer appeared in the diary copy, some beauties immediately began to explore the friend function, trying to see if they could transmit information remotely as prompted by the diary system. As for Wu Xing, when he exited the diary system, Su Ruoshi also walked out of the bathroom. After being washed with hot water, her tired body was soothed and she looked extremely beautiful. What makes you so happy? Su Ruoshi, who walked out of the bathroom, looked at the joy on Wu Xing's face and asked curiously. Wu Xing looked at Su Ruoshi and said with a smile, of course it's because of you. Su Ruoshi, who heard this, immediately rolled her eyes at the other person, but her heart felt as sweet as drinking honey. After all, this is what a woman in love likes to hear most, wishing that she would be all in the other person's heart. but what she didn't expect was that the guy in front of her had just been teasing a bunch of beauties in her diary. "Are you hungry?" Wu Xing stood up and came to Su Ruoshi, hugging her naturally and asking with concern, "It's almost afternoon now, this girl has just lost her virginity, and she hasn't absorbed nutrients all morning, so even a soul master can't bear it." "Yeah." Su Ruoshi nodded her head lightly. She was indeed a little hungry. "Then let's go," Wu Xing said with a smile, then took Su Ruoshi's hand and left the room. Under the guidance of Su Ruoshi, the two of them walked all the way towards the college cafeteria, but met some students on the way. Seeing the closeness between the two, they all opened their mouths. Although Su Ruoshi's popularity in the academy is not as good as that of Dugu Yan and Yilingling, she is still a rare beauty and naturally has many suitors. Now that she sees that she is a famous beauty, her heart breaks. The same is true for some girls. It is extremely heartbreaking to see such a handsome boy with a girlfriend. In addition, the news of the competition in the ring has spread throughout the entire college. There are not many girls who don't know that a powerful and handsome genius has come to their college. However, before he can take action, he is beaten first, and he feels disappointed in his heart. One can imagine. Chapter 23 Identity Exposed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The cafeteria of Tiando Academy is very large and has a rich menu. Since most of the students in the academy were born into noble families, it is open all day long. Let Su Ruoshi find a place to sit down first, and Wu Xing went to the window to get some food. This inadvertent behavior made the other party feel sweet in his heart, and he felt that he had found the right person. After returning with 2 dishes full of dishes and placing Su Ruoshi's portion in front of her, Wu Xing slowly sat down next to her. "What's wrong? There are flowers on my face." Looking at Su Ruoshi, who was looking at him longingly, Wu Xing said a little strangely. "No. No." After hearing Wu Xing's words, Su Ruoshi came back to her senses and shook her head with a blush. Wu Xing smiled slightly and said without paying attention to Su Ruoshi's expression, "Eat." "Yeah." Su Ruoshi nodded. It has to be said that the food at Tiando Royal Academy is not only rich but also very delicious. It is much better than the cafeteria of modern universities, and there is no famous scene of shaking hands. After the meal, the two of them were satisfied. Rather than saying they were satisfied, it was better to say they were filled with joy. After all, any handsome reader would not know that when he and his girlfriend have just established the stage of their relationship, even if they are having a meal, they only see each other. After resting for a while, Wu Xing was planning to take Su Ruoshi back when suddenly 2 beautiful figures appeared at the door of the cafeteria. After these 2 beautiful figures came in, they first glanced around and then walked towards where Wu Xing was. Looking at the 2 women who came to sit in front of him and looked at him up and down, Wu Xing was a little confused. Su Ruoshi on the side was also stunned when she saw the 2 women. Then she saw the 2 women sitting down without saying anything and staring at her man. She frowned and hugged Wu Xing's arm tightly. The 2 women in front of me were none other than Dugu Yan and Yilingling, who had verified from Zhan Minghui. Whether it was the encounter in the Sunset Forest a few days ago, the other person wrote in his diary that he finally saw the same kind of people, or whether he walked out of the Sunset Forest and came to the gathering place of human beings later, the time all matched. And now Su Ruoshi. What she said today about being single, no matter what the exception, is the owner of the diary. "2 beauties, what do you want from me?" Wu Xing asked stiffly as the 2 women stared at him. The 2 women did not answer immediately. After looking at each other for a while, Dugu Yan said playfully, "You can make it easy for me and Lingling to find you, Wu Xing." That when he mentioned the word Wu Xing, Dugu Yan especially emphasized his tone, and the corner of his mouth was even more proud. "Wu Xing." Wu Xing was startled when he heard this, and then he felt horrified in his heart. How did the other party know his real name? He has never used his real name since time travel, and has always called himself his origin. Suddenly, Wu Xing thought of something. Did the copy of the diary show his name? No, now is not the time to think about your name, but how the other person recognizes you. How did you know? After thinking for a while, Wu Xing didn't feel that he had revealed his identity in the diary, so he couldn't help but ask doubtfully, if he had not obtained the teleportation card, he would never have admitted his identity, but now that he had the means to save his life, he admitted it generously. Seeing Wu Xing admit his true identity, Dugu Yan was stunned for a while, and then said, "I thought you would refuse to admit it." After all, according to the character of this guy who is afraid of death in his diary, how could he easily admit that he is the owner of the diary? "How come, you are not some man-eating monsters? Now that you have found me, why should I hide it?" Wu Xing smiled hoarsely. TSK, this doesn't fit in with your fear of death." Dugu Yan obviously didn't believe what Wu Xing said. When Yi Lingling heard Dugu Yan's words, she pursed her lips and chuckled, and joked, "Sister Yan Yan, he probably got the teleportation card, so he dared to admit it." Wu Xing's old face turned red when he was exposed, and he secretly lamented in his heart what these women grew up on. Their looks were just incredible. What could they do if they were so smart? Subconsciously he glanced at the peaks of the two girls. They weren't necessarily small, were they? Wu Xing's hidden gaze was naturally noticed by the two women, and a black line flashed across his forehead. This guy is really as lustful and bold as recorded in the diary. If that's the case, that's it. What's too much is that his girlfriend is still there. How dare you be so unscrupulous around me? If he wasn't around, he wouldn't have taken action directly. Ahem. He pretended to cough, relieved the embarrassment in his heart, and continued to ask, "You haven't said how you recognized me yet." Dugu Yan looked at Yi Lingling and said proudly, "Mainly because Lingling was careful and discovered some clues in your diary, we followed the clues to find Zhang Minghui and verified your identity." After finishing speaking, Dugu Yan told how Yi Lingling discovered the clues and then found Zhang Minghui for detailed verification. "In this case, I am shooting myself in the foot. I shouldn't agree to your discussion." After hearing this, Wu Xing felt like crying. "Who told you to be so arrogant?" Dugu Yan said with a smile. Wu Xing was speechless. "Who would have thought that you are all zhuge among girls, and you can think of so many things with just your soul rings? Sure enough, you still underestimated people from other worlds, thinking that you were doing everything perfectly." Well, he was exposed on the second day after leaving the Sunset Forest. This slap in the face came so quickly. While Wu Xing was sighing, Su Ruoshi was confused at this time. She couldn't understand a word of it, such as what Wu Xing was saying, what he didn't admit, what he didn't hide anymore, what about the teleportation card, etc. She deliberately wanted to interrupt, but found that she couldn't find a good time, so she finally held back. "You're a quick guy," Dugu Yan said after finding Su Ruoshi, who wanted to ask but couldn't get in the conversation. She knew Su Ruoshi. Although she wasn't very familiar with her, she also knew that she was a very popular beauty in their college. She had a lot of suitors. She didn't expect that this guy in front of her would be captured by the other party just a short time ago. It was simply outrageous. If you want to say that the other party is the holder of a copy of the diary, it would be excusable, but the problem is not that, which makes people have to lament the other party's method of chasing women, being ridiculed by Dugu Yan. Wu Xing not only did not feel embarrassed, but also said proudly, "That's right, you don't even look at me, I'm a master, and you can't catch him at your fingertips. Why are you so thick-skinned?" Dugu Yan and Yi Lingling were dumbfounded when they heard this, and immediately rolled their eyelids. "Is this thick? You haven't seen anyone thicker before," Wu Xing complained in his heart. As the saying goes, if a girl is not shameless, she will become someone else. Thinking in his mind, Wu Xing smiled again and said, "You can do it too." Bah! Upon hearing Wu Xing's pointed words, Dugu Yan and Yi Lingling's eyes widened for a moment, and then they both pouted at Wu Xing. They had never seen such a shameless person. If they hadn't considered that the other party was the owner of the diary, they wouldn't have picked up the scissors and just clicked them, so as not to harm women everywhere in the future. Chapter 24 The Spoiled Dugu Yan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Suppressing the impulse in his heart, Dugu Yan stretched out his hand and spread it towards Wu Xing. "What?" Wu Xing asked in surprise when he saw Dugu Yan's strange behavior. "Of course it's fairy grass." Dugu Yan rolled his eyes and said directly. "Where's the money?" Wu Xing also stretched out his hand to ask for it. No money. Dugu Yan said confidently. Wu Xing's eyes suddenly widened, and he couldn't help but laugh. I don't have any money, so I want some fairy grass. You still dare to ask me for money? Dugu Yan looked at Wu Xing in disbelief, as if to say that you have the nerve to ask me for money. Why don't you dare? You are not my woman. Wu Xing waved his hand. Although you are the holder of a copy of the diary, you have no money to avoid talking unless you agree to it with your body. When Dugu Yan heard this, his face instantly darkened, and he was so angry that the mountain peak stood up straight, and he said angrily, I haven't settled the score with you yet, but you have gone too far. Those fairy grasslands belong to my grandfather. The last time Wu Xing talked about her grandfather in her diary, she made a big joke in front of the students and teachers. Later, she went to her grandfather to inquire and found out that the jelly grass was planted by her grandfather, and she found that the jelly grass was planted by him. The thief's grandfather almost lost his temper and left immediately. Fortunately, she didn't tell her grandfather who stole it. Actually, the copy of the diary prevented them from talking about Wu Xing. How many plants did she have to spend? Your grandpa doesn't know the usefulness of the fairy grass. If you put it there, the baby will be covered in dust. When I pick it out, your grandpa should thank me for giving the baby the value it deserves. Faced with Dugu Yan's angry rebuke, Wu Xing didn't care at all. Showing the shamelessness vividly. When Dugu Yan heard Wu Xing's words, everyone laughed in anger. He had seen shameless people, but never such a shameless one. He stole other people's things and felt that the other party had to thank him. Believe it or not, I will go find my grandfather now and ask him to thank you. Dugu Yan said through gritted teeth. That's the best. Wu Xing smiled. You. Seeing Wu Xing's expression that he was not afraid of boiling water, Dugu Yan was completely at a loss. I can't fight and fight, and I can't talk and talk. Is it possible that I really want to find my grandfather? She is not stupid. As the owner of the diary, Wu Xing can only make friends but cannot offend him. How could she be stupid enough to call her grandpa? Dugu Yan, who was being driven crazy by Wu Xing, wanted to ask Yi Lingling for comment, but when he saw his good sister beside him, she pursed her lips and chuckled, and she felt even worse. Sensing Dugu Yan's eyes, Yi Lingling quickly put away his smile and said, Sister Yan Yan, Wu Xing is teasing you. Through a simple exchange, Yi Lingling already knew Wu Xing's character and understood that the other party was purely teasing his good sister and was not unwilling to give her the fairy grass. Are you kidding me? Dugu Yan said blankly. Looking at Dugu Yan, who was still stupid, Wu Xing stopped teasing him and said, with your brain, no wonder you can't even get any fairy grass in the original work. Just like your grandfather, you deserve to be a tool man. What do you mean? Dugu Yan, who had finally calmed down, was once again furious at Wu Xing's words. Okay, I'll give you the fairy grass. Wu Xing found a fairy grass from the diary warehouse that was suitable for the other party's martial spirit, took it out, then placed it in front of her and said, this fairy grass is called Biyun snake grass. It's just right for you. Remember to find a quiet place before absorbing your martial spirit. Dugu Yan, who was still furious, saw Wu Xing taking out the fairy grass, and then he put his eyes on the table and looked at it carefully. She was quite curious. This fairy grass really had such a great effect. It could increase the soul power level and transform the martial soul. Apart from being more delicate than ordinary flowers, there was nothing strange about it. You didn't lie to me, did you? Is this really the fairy grass? Didn't you just pick it randomly to deal with me? Dugu Yan, who couldn't find the strange grass in the fairy grass for a long time, said suspiciously. Wu Xing rolled his eyelids and said angrily, do you want love? Of course. Upon hearing this, Dugu Yan immediately put the fairy grass into his storage soul guide, for fear that this shameless guy would take it back. Seeing Dugu Yan's movements, Wu Xing was speechless for a while, then looked at Yi Lingling and said with a smile, you have to spend money. I'm ready. Yi Lingling seemed to know what Wu Xing would say, and took out a card from the soul guide. This is a gold card that is common across the continent. It contains 100,000 gold coins. Seeing Yi Lingling, who unhurriedly took out the golden soul card and pushed it to his desk, Wu Xing was slightly surprised. This woman was a bit extraordinary. First she saw through his identity, then rescued Dugu Yan, and now she even took out Jinhunka. Seemed to have expected that he would say this. Ling Ling, why did you give this guy money? Dugu Yan on the side couldn't help but shouted angrily when he saw that his good sister actually gave him 100,000 gold soul coins. This is what it should be. Yi Lingling replied with a smile. Wu Xing could give Dugu Yan fairy grass because her grandfather planted it, but she couldn't. Of course, the most important thing is that she doesn't want to owe Wu Xing a favor and leave an impression of being greedy for cheap. Besides, 100,000 gold soul coins really don't matter to her. This is no nonsense. With the 9-hearted begonia martial soul, she can make a lot of money by treating injured people casually, and the cost is only a little loss. Just soul power. It is no exaggeration to say that as long as Yi Lingling is willing, many soul masters will rush to give her money, a proper gift of money. Wu Xing, who received the golden soul card, handed it over to Su Ruoxi, who was still confused. After a while, she came back to her senses and said, Ben. Wu Xing, please take this golden soul card. What to do for me? Although her head was still buzzing, through discussions with several people, she knew that her man was hiding some shocking secrets, and that the name Yuan was just a fabrication to hide her identity. Leave it to you for safekeeping. Wu Xing smiled. You're a very generous guy. Seeing Wu Xing, who had just received the golden soul card, he changed hands and stuffed it into Su Ruoxi's hand, which made Dugu Yan a little bit disgusted. She didn't know why she was jealous. Maybe it was because this guy's attitude towards her and Su Ruoxi were two extremes, which created a contrast between them, rather than jealousy. That's right, Ruoxi is my woman, how can I be nice to you if I'm not nice to her? Wu Xing said matter-of-factly. Hearing this, Dugu Yan had a big hash mark on his forehead. He was so caught off guard by this dog food weird guy. He cursed angrily in his heart, suddenly thought of something, his eyes lit up slightly, and Dugu Yan said to Su Ruoxi, Sister Ruoxi, you have to take a good look at him, this guy is very carefree. When Wu Xing saw Dugu Yan instigating his relationship with Su Ruoxi, his face darkened and he said, Dugu Yan, if you don't know how to speak, don't speak. Be careful, I will sue you for slander. Do you dare to swear that you have no interest in me? Dugu Yan didn't care at all about Wu Xing's threat, and after speaking, he deliberately stood up to his panda. So big, so round, so strong. Well, what Wu Xing is talking about is the opponent's blue fish scale armor, which is definitely not what you think. Chapter 25. The diary is actually connected to the manga. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You really know how to put gold on your face, have I mentioned you before? Wu Xing looked away without a trace, looking at Dugu Yan, who felt good about himself, and couldn't help but curl his lips. If I remember correctly, I wrote so many copies of the diary, and it seems that I never expressed my thoughts about her alone. Wu Xing's words made Dugu Yan very angry, but he could not refute it. The other party did not mention her specifically, but the three beauties of Wuhandian and Shrek were always mentioned by the other party, especially Wuhandian Sanmei. This guy never stops writing in every diary. As for the Pope, Bibi Dong, she naturally heard about it, but the Pope was not too young, right? It's almost time to become each other's grandmother. Thinking that the guy in front of her liked that kind of mature woman, she seemed to have found a way to fight back. She raised her eyebrows and said, I know, don't you just like old women? I understand, I understand. Wu Xing was a little confused by Dugu Yan's words. You know what an old woman is. Isn't this little girl confused by him? But he soon understood, and a strange smile suddenly appeared on his face, and he praised, You are so brave, you dare to say that Donger is an old woman. Initially seeing Wu Xing being speechless by him, Dugu Yan thought he could win back a victory, but the next second he saw the other person's joking expression, a very bad feeling filled his body. Sure enough, the next words of the other party made her tremble. She denied it repeatedly in fear, I didn't say it. This is what you said yourself. Don't talk nonsense or make things up. At the end of the sentence, Dugu Yan's voice became a bit sharp. She knew that the copy of the diary written by this guy would most likely be seen by the Pope. If this was written, even Grandpa would not be able to protect her. TSK, are you scared now? Looking at Dugu Yan, who jumped up in fright, Wu Xing showed a playful smile again. I. Dugu Yan pointed at Wu Xing and wanted to say something, but found that he didn't know how to explain it at all, and was so anxious that he almost cried. Seeing Dugu Yan, who was completely manipulated by Wu Xing, Yi Lingling was a little helpless. As a good sister, she had to stand up and said, Wu Xing, please stop teasing Sister Yan Yan. She has a straightforward personality and has no bad intentions. She can't stand it. You tease. Seeing Yi Lingling's words, Wu Xing stopped teasing Dugu Yan, and instead focused on him and said with a smile, so, you can do it. Seeing Wu Xing looking at her with burning eyes, Yi Lingling's face turned slightly red. Although she had a calm and elegant personality, she couldn't stand Wu Xing's bold gaze and said, Wu Xing, please stop joking with me. I'll tell you what happened. Oh. Wu Xing was stunned when he heard this, then put away his thoughts and asked curiously, what's the matter? That the most intuitive impression of a person is the communication when they first meet, and Yi Lingling gave him the impression that she is the kind of girl who is smart, sensible, and knows how to advance and retreat. Although she is not old, she has the demeanor of a lady. Facing such a girl, he naturally couldn't deal with her the same way he dealt with Dugu Yan, so after the other party finished speaking, he stopped joking. You know that many women can see copies of the diary, right? Seeing that Wu Xing became serious, Yi Lingling breathed a sigh of relief. If he continued, he wouldn't be able to bear it. Yeah. Wu Xing nodded, but he was a little confused. Given the other person's intelligence, he probably wouldn't ask more questions. Then do you know that this copy of the diary can be seen by women in other worlds besides ours? Yi Lingling then asked. After looking at the diary updates for a week, she found that the other person seemed to be talking about things in their world and never mentioned other worlds. This may be because the other party is in the Douluo world, but it is also possible that the other party does not know. If it is the first one, it does not matter, but if it is the second one, she feels it is necessary to talk to Wu Xing. In addition to her curiosity about how other worlds are different from the Douluo world, more importantly, if Wu Xing doesn't know, she can just use this topic to build a good relationship with him. What? Wu Xing's pupils shrank slightly after hearing Yi Lingling's words, and he said in disbelief, why do you ask that? Seeing Wu Xing's reaction, Yi Lingling knew that he had guessed correctly, and then told the diary holders rewards one by one. The more Wu Xing listened, the more surprised he became, and the more he listened, the more he couldn't believe it. He thought he was standing in the atmosphere and had already seen through Go System's tricks, but now he found that he was only in the underground level. Who do you know? After a moment, Wu Xing asked again after receiving the information. According to the information I have received so far, there are Shuyu's sword immortally honey from Young Song Xing, Fan Di, the light bearer from the world of Spirit Cage, Holy Kesha from the world of Legend of Heroes, and Perfect World Lu Shen in the world of Shadow, the Ruthless Emperor in the world of Zetian, Tsunade in the world of Naruto, and the world of Qin Shi Mingyue has just appeared today. The above is the woman I learned about through the diary reward. After Yi Lingling finished speaking, she looked at the other party quietly. She didn't know whether the news was important to Wu Xing. After hearing what Yi Lingling said about the reward holders, Wu Xing was dumbfounded and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. Good guy, he called him a good guy. He was shocked that the system could play such a big role. In his original world, these women were all characters in popular anime. No wonder the golden finger prompt on the first day is Zhu Tian Comprehensive Manga Diary System, which covers all anime in one place. Although only 7 worlds were displayed for the time being, which was far behind all the comprehensive comics, he knew that this was because he had only written 7 diaries, and there would definitely be more worlds in the comprehensive comics in the future, and what shocked him the most was that some of the women, who were all heaven-defying beings, actually had copies of their own diaries. He was a little worried whether these women would follow the system to find him. However, after so many days, it seems impossible to do so, otherwise the ruthless emperor would have come to explore his identity long ago, but then he thought about it, and Wu Xing frowned again. If the diary system connected all the worlds, it would definitely not be as simple as writing a diary, otherwise it would not be distributed to those women. He didn't know what his golden finger was going to do. He hadn't even established a foothold in Douluo Continent yet, so he gave him such a big surprise, intimidation. Wu Xing did not speak, and various thoughts flashed through his mind. Seeing his lack of response, Yi Lingling subconsciously asked, "Wu Xing, what's wrong with you?" "No. It's nothing. I'm a little panicked now. I have to get used to it first." Wu Xing calmed down and waved his hand to show that he was fine. A bit panicked? Yi Lingling couldn't help but be stunned, not understanding why the other party suddenly withered. Although this guy always said in his diary that he was afraid of death, she knew that he was not really timid. After all, in her opinion, who dared to be disrespectful to the Pope? But the other party dared to make fun of her. But now that Wu Xing heard the women he was talking about, the panic he showed didn't seem to be fake. If Wu Xing knew what Yi Lingling was thinking, he would definitely teach her a lesson and let him know what it means to be powerful. He dared to tease Dong'er Beauty in his diary because the other party couldn't find him, and even finding him would take time. Even if he was caught and used as a tool, he was confident that he could still escape. But facing some of the above-mentioned women, even if you have a teleportation card, it is useless. They can control the long river of time. If you appear in their world, your position will be locked every minute, no, every second. To your eyes, I'm just asking you if you're scared or panicked. Chapter 26 Guess. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Knowing that the holder of a copy of the diary had beauties from all over the world, Wu Xing couldn't help but want to write something. He hurriedly said goodbye to Yi Lingling and Dugu Yan and took Su Ruoxi back to the dormitory. Along the way, Wu Xing also told her about the diary. Only then did Su Ruoxi understand why Dugu Yan and Yi Lingling came to them, and why they met her man. After knowing everything, she was greatly shocked. At the same time, she felt a little lonely inside. Why didn't she get a copy of the diary? Wasn't she important in this world? Otherwise, why not give it to her? Wu Xing, who noticed the change in Su Ruoxi's mentality, immediately started to use the man-warming technique of comforting, and it took a while of good words and bad deeds to make her feel relieved. Wu Xing, you won't want me anymore, will you? After comforting her, Su Ruoxi looked at Wu Xing, who was close at hand, and asked seriously. She was a little worried. Knowing that Wu Xing was a time traveler and had the diary system of the artifact, she could not imagine his future achievements. Even the Douluo world could not contain him. She was really afraid that one day he would leave her. Su Ruoxi doesn't blame her for thinking this way. Women who have just fallen in love are like this. Even women in the Douluo world are like this. Once something happens, they can't help but think about it and worry about gains and losses. Fool, how could I not want you? You are the first woman I have ever traveled through time. No one will want you. Wu Xing reached out and put his hand on Su Ruoxi's still lingering face, lowered his head and gently kissed her sexy face. They kissed each other on the lips and then continued. According to my understanding of the diary system, it can be upgraded. It will definitely have more functions by then. Maybe I can invite you in after a few levels. Yeah. After receiving the response, Su Ruoxi finally showed a smile on her face. After being gentle again, Wu Xing seemed to have thought of something, and took out a fairy grass from the diary warehouse, and then handed it to her. Ruoxi, if you absorb this fairy grass, she will have a great influence on you. Help, your man, I will write a diary first. Okay. Su Ruoxi nodded in response. After the previous explanation, she knew the function of the fairy grass, so she did not shirk it. Watching Su Ruoxi absorb the fairy grass, Wu Xing finally looked away, quickly opened the diary system, and started updating. Shit, shit, shit. In the first line, Wu Xing wrote 3 Chinese quintessence sentences to express his inner emotions. At the same time, beauties from all over the world also received the prompt immediately, and they were very surprised. Wasn't it updated twice today? Again. The girls were confused, so they called out a copy of the diary again, opened it, and became even more confused. What happened to this guy to be so out of his mind? Just as the girls were curious, the second line appeared in the copy of the diary. Yao Shou, all beauties, I didn't want to disturb you again, but I just couldn't help it. Huh? The girls raised their eyebrows. Judging from this guy's tone, it seemed like he was in trouble. Bibi Dong, who was far away in Wuhuan City, was even more shocked. Could it be that the other party was in danger? Looking for help? But then I thought about it and thought it was impossible. The other party had the teleportation card, so who could threaten him? Despite this thought, Bibi Dong got up without any hesitation and walked out of her bedroom. As long as the other party was really in danger, if the distance was close, she would rush over as soon as possible. After all, Wu Xing was too important to her, 100 times more important than the big plan she had deployed. Knowing that the diary copy was powerful, her vision was no longer limited to this, but just when she released her martial soul and prepared to support the opponent, she almost stumbled and fell from the sky when she saw the words appearing in the copy of the diary. Dear beauties, I learned something today, something that shocked me very much. It turns out that this diary system is connected to Zhutian Zongman. It turns out that not only the beauties in Douluo world got my diary. Bibi Dong looked at the words on it and was very angry. She called out the essence of the country so many times and said longevity so many times. She thought you were in danger, but this is the result. The holders of copies of the diary were not only beauties from the Douluo world, but also beauties from other worlds. She knew about it on the first day. Fortunately, she was anxiously preparing to save people, but in the end she made a mistake. If Wu Xing were by her side at this moment, he would definitely not mind giving her a vampire spider sting, and there would be no need to shout such unlucky words as longevity. Originally, I thought that when I came to this world, the diary system would hand out beauties from the Douluo world. Unexpectedly, I was tricked by the system. If 2 beauties with copies of the diary hadn't come to me today, I would still be in the dark. Drum. Here I first want to thank the beauty who told me the news. If you hadn't reminded me, I don't know when I would have known that Go system had concealed such an important thing. Yi Lingling, who was flipping through the diary, was filled with joy when he saw Wu Xing writing this. His reminder was indeed rewarded and he left a good impression in front of the other party. Everyone knows the importance of Wu Xing. No matter how indifferent a beauty is, no matter how unfulfilled her desires are, she still has a place to relax in her spare time. Through Wu Xing's diary, she can appreciate the vast world and understand the customs of each world. No. Someone actually found the owner of the diary. Bibi Dong, who was still angry, felt tight in her heart after seeing Wu Xing's words. Someone found the other party before her, which was not a good thing for her. It would be better if the woman was not from a certain force. If she came from a certain force or a big family, she would be easily won over by the other party. After all, the owner of this copy of the diary is a true prodigal, and has no immunity to the beauty trap. With a nervous mood, Bibi Dong could only continue to read, hoping that it was not what she thought. I have read many diary system novels in the original world, but none of them are so outrageous, including all the important beauties in the comic world. This makes me somewhat doubt the true purpose of the system. Based on my understanding of many novels over the years, since the system distributes copies of the diary to all comic book worlds, it will definitely not be that simple, and I have already made several guesses. First, the system should be able to connect all of your worlds, but this function is not yet open. Second, the system should issue tasks or something, and let me or you complete them. Third, since the tasks have been issued, you will definitely receive various rewards. I concluded that it should be a point reward type. As for why I judged this way, it is because the cultivation system in each of your worlds is different, and the rules will be different, but points are the most convenient. Fourth, with points, the system mall will naturally be opened. Everyone can consume points and buy various things that are suitable for you. As Wu Xing's guesses came out one by one, all the goddesses in the comic world couldn't sit still. Chapter 27 The Frightened Douluo Girls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. These things can quickly improve your strength. The speed may be beyond your imagination. It may be possible to directly improve your strength to a large level. There are also various life-saving things that can help you escape when you are in danger. In short, if you really open the diary mall, the things sold there are completely beyond your imagination, so I won't explain them one by one. Of course, this is just my guess based on many system novels, but it should be close to 10. When many beauties saw that Wu Xing said that he could improve his strength quickly, or that he could improve directly without practicing, their eyes became hot. Especially those beauties who were more concerned about their own strength, and they wished that the diary system could be upgraded as soon as possible. Then they saw Wu Xing mentioning the matter of saving their lives again, and they all chuckled. The owner of this diary is really interesting. Why should he be so afraid of death? He talks about safety all day long. They have never seen someone who has such an incredible opportunity. People are so timid, at least in their world. Some people get opportunities. Who is not high-spirited and wants to be famous all over the world? Look at the owner of this diary again. His luck is even worse than that of those people, but he appears to be worried about others. Does he have persecution paranoia? Wu Xing is such a coward. Ning Rongrong, who was about to arrive at Tiando Royal Academy tomorrow, was looking at a copy of the diary attentively in a hotel room. After seeing Wu Xing's words, she laughed in disbelief. Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing on the side also smiled slightly when they heard Ning Rongrong's words. They also felt that this Wu Xing was too timid and fearful. Wu Xing didn't know that at this moment, he was labeled as timid as a mouse in the hearts of many beauties, and he didn't know that the diary system had scolded him countless times. This sixth host had leaked all its functions in advance. You might as well make the system. After talking about my guess, let me briefly talk about the beauties I learned about. I really didn't expect that you guys would be here. When I heard your information, I almost wasn't scared. Urine. Holy Keisha, the king of gods in the world of Xiaogang Binglian, Lu Shen, the supreme giant in the perfect world, the ruthless emperor, the most amazing and talented emperor in the world of Zhetian, has lived life after life. After hearing your names, I was really afraid that you would come to me along the system's network cable, and this little Douluo world would be destroyed by you. Fortunately it is not an anime, across the dimensional barrier, otherwise I would really worry that your arrival would cause the entire world to collapse directly. After all, even the God King in this Douluo world is nothing more than an ant to you. Fortunately, I traveled to the Douluo Continent. If I traveled to your world, I wouldn't even have a chance, so I would capture and slice it for you as soon as possible. But then again, these beautiful ladies, I say just in case the system releases a task to me at some time, I must not do this when I enter your world. I am insignificant to you, just a golden finger. Just a time traveler. And I will never hide anything you want to know, so don't search my soul. Brother, I would like to thank several beautiful ladies for their kind words. Wu Xing's fear of death has reached a new level again, but this time few women complained about him in their hearts, but were deeply shocked by the other party's words. In Wuhuan City, Bibi Dong, who had just returned to his dormitory, saw Wu Xing's words, his eyes widened, and his heart was filled with shock. At first, the other party was almost scared to death when he said it, with a look of scorn on his face. What kind of boss, what kind of supreme giant, what kind of king of the gods? The title is quite bluffing. Can his strength be comparable to his own? But not long after, she saw the other party saying that these diary holders could destroy the entire Douluo Continent by accident, and she almost peed in fear. The God King is just an ant in the eyes of these women. Becoming a god was a goal she had been striving for many years, not to mention the existence of the God King, which she looked up to. These gods were just ants that women could easily crush to death. At this moment, she completely felt the power from the diary system. Deeply malicious, Poseidon Island, Bo Saishi, who had always been as calm as water, was deeply shocked when he saw the holders of the diary copies that Wu Xing was talking about. As the spokesperson of Poseidon in Douluo Continent, she knew more about the gods in the upper realm than the Pope of Wuhuan Palace, and it was precisely because she understood the power of the gods in the upper realm that she was even more touched. How defiant are those women, and the Lord Poseidon they believe in is just an ant in their eyes. Tiando Royal Academy, Yi Lingling was also covering her mouth at this moment, with a look of disbelief on her face. Dugu Yan next to her was not much better. She had scared Wu Xing by laughing at him before, only now do I understand how valuable these names are. They can destroy their world with just a wave of their hands. Wouldn't it be so scary? Is this something that their little soul sect can touch? Is this something they are entitled to know? You thief Wu Xing, please pay my mental intimidation fee. No wonder Wu Xing said that he was a little panicked at that time. They are all panicking now, for fear that the other side will really come along the so-called network cable. They knew that they would not be able to sleep tonight. If they had known it, they would not have read the diary. Without a strong heart, they would not be able to withstand it. They would not be able to withstand it at all. Okay, let's stop here today. All beauties, we'll see you tomorrow. Wu Xing finished the last sentence and closed the diary panel. This was the rare time in his many diaries that he did not say teasing words at the end. There was no other way. Knowing that those big bosses had copies of their diaries, how could he dare to make fun of them? Otherwise, if they really traveled into their world and were slaughtered, there would be no place to complain. Lu Shen was better off. You must know that the ruthless emperor was. Don't be sentimental. If you really want to make the other person unhappy, it doesn't matter whether you are the owner of the diary or not. If you kill someone as soon as you say it, you will never push too hard. Otherwise, you won't be called the ruthless emperor. That is a person who is cruel to others and even more cruel to himself. And the reason why he lowered his profile in the diary just now was to take precautions. After checking the time, Wu Xing found that he had unknowingly written until the next day. It was now past 12 o'clock in the evening, just in time to receive the reward, so he immediately communicated with the system to receive the reward. Ding, it was detected that the host updated a diary, and was rewarded with a perfect 100,000-year soul ring. At the same time, as subtitles no longer appear in Wu Xing's diary, the entire Douluo Continent, no, not only the entire Douluo Continent, but also the beauties of many worlds, are destined to have difficulty sleeping tonight. The news brought by the owner of the diary has all overturned their cognition. Can one person really destroy an entire world? Can a person really live from life to life? Chapter 28 Shrek and the others arrive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 100,000-year perfect soul ring. Wu Xing looked at the dazzling red soul ring in the diary warehouse, and his heart trembled slightly. He didn't expect that the ghost system was so generous today. Could it be because it had been upgraded, so the rewards had also been upgraded? The thought flashed through my mind, and whether this is the case remains to be verified. However, Wu Xing is still very satisfied with today's reward. Although his soul power is only level 31 now and cannot be used for the time being, he believes that he will be able to absorb it in a short time. It had only been 8 days since he came to this world, but he had reached level 30 from soul power level 31 2 days ago, and it only took him 6 days to reach the full limit. This promotion speed is not unsatisfactory, and he is worthy of level 6 innate soul power. Of course, this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that with the speed of his cultivation, he will definitely be promoted to the soul sect before the continent-wide soul master competition comes, and with this 100,000-year-old soul ring by his side, Tang San, that clown, could no longer show off. Not to mention the gap between a 10,000-year-old soul ring and a 100,000-year-old soul ring, the visual impact alone was not on the same level. After calming down, Wu Xing reluctantly withdrew his gaze and looked at Su Ruoxi aside. At this time, Su Ruoxi has not completely absorbed the energy contained in the fairy grass, but it is not much different. However, the soul power has increased from the original level 34 to level 38. If it is absorbed completely, it should be able to reach level 39. The distance is the soul sect is only 1 step away. Sure enough, as Wu Xing expected, half an hour later, Su Ruoxi woke up, feeling the surging soul power in her body, her face full of excitement. How do you feel? Wu Xing asked with a smile, looking at his little girlfriend who opened her eyes and looked excited. Wu Xing, thank you. Su Ruoshi happily hugged her boyfriend's neck and offered him a sweet kiss. Faced with Su Ruoshi's move, Wu Xing naturally accepted it unceremoniously, and didn't let go until the other party was out of breath. Su Ruoshi looked at her man with a blushing face, her beautiful eyes full of obsession, and then she replied excitedly, Wu Xing, my soul power is now level 39. Is it level 39? It's about what I expected. Wu Xing looked at it for a while, and then asked slowly, what about the martial soul? Has there been any change? A fairy grass only increased by 5 levels. According to the description in the original book, this increase in soul power level is considered relatively ordinary. Yes. Su Ruoshi nodded heavily, and then released her martial spirit. In an instant, a Yao Qin glowing with 5 colors of light appeared in her hand. Originally, her Yao Qin was only dark blue, but now it has undergone an astonishing change and transformed into color. My martial spirit was originally called Blue Qin Tian, but now it has evolved into the top weapon martial spirit, Ling Lang Qinshi. Su Ruoshi stroked her Yao Qin, showing her affection. She never thought that her martial soul could evolve and become the most top-notch weapon martial soul. Seeing Su Ruoshi's face full of joy, Wu Xing was also happy for her. To be honest, the opponent's martial arts was seriously underestimated. You must understand that in the anime, although she only appeared for less than a minute, she was one of the few people who had her own flying skills. Skills, it's self-contained flying, not flying after using soul skills. If you don't know, you can watch the original anime episode 69. Logically speaking, such a martial spirit shouldn't be so bad, but because it was a supporting role and a stepping stone for Tang San, it wasn't mentioned too much. Now that he has traveled to the world of Douluo, and the other party has become his woman, he naturally will not let his woman remain as unknown as in the original work. Withdrawing her martial soul, Su Ruoshi looked at her man again, with a look of love on her face and eyes filled with affection. Looking at Su Ruoshi's charming pretty face, Wu Xing couldn't help but feel a tremor in his heart. The reader doesn't need the author to describe what will happen next. The next day, the sun rose 3 poles. The 2 people who were sleeping in each other's arms walked out of the room. First, they went to Su Ruoshi's original dormitory and moved some of the things she put there. Now that the 2 of them are like this, how can they live separately? Then we discussed where we were going to play today. Finally, I decided to go to Tiando City. Anyway, there are still 2 days of vacation, and there is enough time to go to Tiando City for a walk. Moreover, it is not far from Tiando City, less than 20 miles away, and it only takes more than an hour to walk. But just when the 2 were about to set off, Dugu Yan and Yilingling found them again. Are you all so free? Looking at the 2 women who came up to him, Wu Xing was a little surprised. Are all soul masters so free? Hearing this, Dugu Yan rolled his eyes and said, it's not that I have free time, I just have more time for free activities. In addition to the instructor convening the team for training and taking some theoretical classes, most of the time I rely on the soul master to consciously cultivate the soul force. That's it. Wu Xing nodded clearly when he heard this. He had forgotten that this was different from a modern university. The students in this world mainly cultivate their soul power and improve their strength, not just to study hard. There are only a few theoretical classes a week, and most of them are extracurricular activities. Then what's the matter with you? Wu Xing, who understood, then asked. When Dugu Yan heard this, his forehead twitched. 2 beauties came to him and actually asked what happened. Shouldn't you be happy? Seeing Dugu Yan's expression, Yilingling on the side knew that her good sister was angry with Wu Xing, so she quickly stood up and said, Sister Yan Yan and I came to see you for nothing. We just want to thank you for the fairy grass. Of course, gratitude is only one of them. The more important thing is that he wants to be more familiar with Wu Xing. Last night's diary scared the 2 of them. Wu Xing's importance in their hearts has increased a lot. Although it is not yet to the point where he actively throws himself into his arms, he must at least become the best friend. No need to thank you, you spent the money. Wu Xing shook his head and then asked curiously, have you finished absorbing the fairy grass? Yes. Yi Lingling nodded, and without waiting for the other party to continue asking, he told her the level of her soul power. After Sister Yan Yan absorbed the fairy grass, her soul power increased from the original level 40 to level 43. The martial soul also evolved from the jade-scaled snake to the jade-scaled snake king. My martial soul has not evolved, but my soul power level has increased from level 40 to level 46. Not bad. Wu Xing praised. Jiuxin Haitang is already the top healing martial spirit, so it is not unusual for it not to evolve intuitively. Su Ruoxi on the side was shocked when she heard the soul power levels of the two women. She thought that she had absorbed the fairy grass like them, and maybe the distance would be closer, but she didn't expect that it was still so huge. Don't underestimate those levels. It will take more than a year to catch up if you practice day and night, not to mention that others will make progress. Where are you planning to go? After finishing speaking, Yi Lingling looked at Su Ruoxi and asked casually. Wu Xing nodded and replied, I plan to go to Tiando City with Ruoxi. As you know, I have just arrived in this world and I am still relatively new to Douluo Continent. How about we go together? Sister Yan Yan and I haven't been to Tiando City for a while. Hearing this, Yi Lingling's eyes flickered and asked. Wu Xing was eager to make friends with these women who had diaries, but considering his own situation, he still looked at Su Ruoxi beside him. Seeing that his woman had no objection, he agreed. While the group of 4 people were walking towards the outside of the academy, the Shrek people also arrived at the Tiando Royal Academy after a long journey. Chapter 29 A Simple Meeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The gate of Tiando Royal Academy. At this time, Shrek and his party finally arrived here. Looking at the majestic academy building in front of them, everyone had different thoughts. Some were shocked, some sighed, and some didn't care at all, but Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong, and Zhu Zhuqing were different. They knew from the copy of the diary that they would not succeed in joining Tiando Royal Academy this time, and they would soon have to verify their authenticity. It's time to be fake. With some anxiety, some expectations, and various conflicting feelings, they walked towards the academy. However, they didn't take a few steps before trouble appeared. Sure enough, it was just as the diary owner said. When they saw a group of Tiando Royal Academy members standing in front of them, the 3 girls were still shocked even though they were mentally prepared. The owner of that diary can actually predict what will happen in the future, and also knows their final ending. While the 3 women were shocked, Wu Xing and others also came here. They spotted 2 groups of people confronting each other from a distance. His eyes lit up and he couldn't help but speed up his steps. He came to the railing near that side and looked down. Go, it's really them. Looking at this familiar scene in anime, Wu Xing felt that it was a coincidence that he had seen one of the few scenes where Tang San would leave in despair and frustration. Su Ruoxi, Dugu Yan, and Yi Lingling who were following Wu Xing noticed something strange about him. They were confused and quickened their pace to follow him. When they came to the railing, Dugu Yan and Yi Lingling also saw 2 groups of people confronting each other not far below. It's them. Seeing the arrival of Tang San and others, Dugu Yan and Yi Lingling couldn't help but look at each other, their faces full of surprise. I didn't expect them to really come and confront Xiaogang. Dugu Yan was surprised and looked at Wu Xing aside. The guy in front of her really predicted it. After hearing what Dugu Yan said, Wu Xing smiled slightly and said, that's right, can this be false? That the conversation between the 2 made Su Ruoxi confused. She did not have a copy of the diary and did not know what Wu Xing had written before. Wu Xing, do we want to take care of it? Yi Lingling looked at it for a while and asked. No, it's rare to see a good show, so we'll just be the audience. Don't you think it's fun? Wu Xing shook his head and said with a smile. Hearing this, Yi Lingling was slightly startled, but said nothing more. In fact, she doesn't like things like this very much. After all, she is also a member of the Tiando Royal Academy. Even if she knows that Xiaogang did it deliberately, it reflects the overall quality of the academy. If you are slapped in the face, you will also be embarrassed, but since Wu Xing said this, she gave up the idea of coming to stop him. Wu Xing was more important to her. While several people were talking, the 2 groups in the confrontation finally started fighting. However, the conflict ended as quickly as it came. Xiaogang was beaten to the ground within a few breaths of Dai Mubai. This guy has really disgraced the college. The outspoken Dugu Yan looked at Xiaogang, who was knocked to the ground in 2 or 3 blows, covering his head with a blank look on his face. Haha. Wu Xing also laughed when he heard this. Flanders and other teachers from Shrek looked at this scene and their mouths twitched. They never expected that the combat quality of the students at Tiando Royal Academy would be so poor. Is this a student from the Tiando Royal Academy? It's just a pile of rubbish. I can't help but wonder if coming here is a wrong decision. Flanders, who was already a bit worried about his students joining the Tiando Royal Academy, couldn't help but look at Zhao Wuji. Flanders' words made Zhao Wuji smile bitterly. He couldn't figure out the reason. The Imperial fighting team that was inseparable from the little monsters last time was not like this. Although Flanders' words were not very loud, they reached Dugu Yan's ears. She immediately slapped the railing in displeasure and subconsciously mobilized her soul power to rush over and regain the face of the academy that Xiaogang had lost. He came, but was stopped by Wu Xing. Don't be impulsive. What he said is right. Why are you anxious? If you want to avenge your shame, wouldn't it be better to defeat them in the continental elite competition in front of thousands of people? Hearing this, Dugu Yan suppressed his anger, but his eyes were still blazing as he stared at Shrek and the others below. The soul power mobilized by Dugu Yan naturally did not escape Flanders, who was the soul saint. Zhao Wuji and others looked along the fluctuations of the soul power and happened to see Dugu Yan glaring angrily, not to mention Tang San, who was hanging on the wall. He immediately spotted Dugu Yan not far above him, and his pupils narrowed slightly. Sensing the teacher's change, Xiao Wu and others followed his gaze and were immediately stunned. They were the 2 female members of the Imperial fighting team. Ma Hongjun was the first to exclaim. As for Wu Xing, he automatically ignored them. Unlike Ma Hongjun and Oscar, Flanders and the others glanced at Dugu Yan and Yilingling briefly, then turned their eyes to Wu Xing in surprise. They knew that Dugu Yan was about to take action just now, but was stopped by the other party's words. This man is not simple. Such thoughts suddenly emerged in their minds. More than 3 months ago, they knew how arrogant Dugu Yan was. Even Qin Ming, who was her mentor, did not listen and used green scale snake venom to make such an arrogant little girl. If you act so obedient, how could the other party be so simple? In addition, this person was not a member of the Imperial fighting team, which surprised them even more. Is it possible that there are powerful students hidden in Tiando Royal Academy? Just as they were thinking, Qin Ming, who heard the sound of fighting, also rushed over. When he found out it was Flanders and others, he immediately stepped forward to say hello. Let's go, there's nothing left to do. Seeing Qin Ming appear, Wu Xing also knew that that was the end of the matter. Later they met with people from the college's education committee. He wanted to observe it, but after thinking about it, he decided not to do it. Now is not the time to be so high profile. The women who heard this nodded, withdrew their gaze and followed Wu Xing towards the gate of the college. Walking down the stairs, he passed by Shrek and the others, said hello to Qin Ming, looked at the 3 Shrek beauties symbolically, and left without looking back. Facing Wu Xing's cryptic gaze, Tang San's heart skipped a beat. It wasn't until the other party left that he asked, Brother Qin Ming, who was the man in the lead just now? Hearing Tang San's inquiry, Flanders, Yu Xiaogang and others also looked at Qin Ming. Their mentors were also extremely interested in Wu Xing's identity. The person you are talking about, his name is Ben Yuan. Wu Xing's real name has not been publicized. He is a student who was specially recruited into the academy just the day before yesterday. Qin Ming looked at the direction in which Wu Xing left and replied slowly. What? Before Tang San could react, Flanders and Yu Xiaogang were the first to exclaim. They may not know much about the specially recruited students from Tiando Royal Academy, but as soon as they joined the academy, Dugu Yan and Yilingling were able to look at each other immediately. This student may have a great background, and then, Qin Ming's answer also confirmed their suspicion. Chapter 30. Everyone in Shrek was shocked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at the somewhat surprised instructor Flanders, Qin Ming said slowly, I also have some knowledge of the specific situation of that student. It seems that an instructor from our college encountered him when he took the student to the Sunset Forest to obtain the soul ring. The civilian soul master who arrived. Public soul master. Flanders and others were even more surprised when they heard this. They still know a little about what Tiando Royal Academy is like. The people who enter here are basically the noble children from the empire and affiliated kingdoms, and there are very few civilian soul masters. However, a civilian soul master could make the granddaughter of Jade Scale Douluo obey his words, which was no less incredible than the sudden sinking of a modern island country. Yes. Qin Ming nodded, and then said with a somewhat excited voice, but this civilian soul master is very extraordinary. There is one thing that even breaks the cognition of our soul master world. Qin Ming paused for a moment when he said this, and then said seriously, as we all know, a soul master has a limit to absorbing soul rings, but he did not say this. Although he is only a soul sect, he has 3,000-year souls. Ring. What? How can this be? After hearing Qin Ming's words, everyone exclaimed in shock, and Yu Xiaogang even said bluntly that it was impossible. Seeing his former mentor's expressions of disbelief, Qin Ming also sighed with emotion. I didn't believe it at first, but then I saw him releasing his martial soul, and it was true. This. When several people heard this, they immediately looked at each other. This impact was really too great for them, especially for Yu Xiaogang and Tang San. Yu Xiaogang felt that the other party had broken his theory, and wasn't this behavior just a slap in the face? His face immediately darkened. Tang San felt that there was someone more powerful than him, the son of destiny, and he would not allow anyone in this world to be more powerful than himself. All of a sudden, before Wu Xing could slap them in the face, they were resented by the two of them. They were indeed the most sanctimonious master-disciple combination. On the contrary, Xiao Wu and the other girls didn't react that much when they heard that Wu Xing had 3,000-year soul rings. With copies of the diary, their horizons had already been raised to a level that was beyond the reach of ordinary people. A 10,000-year soul ring is nothing. There seem to be people in other worlds who can destroy the Douluo Continent with just a snap of their fingers. Moreover, after Zhu Qing reaches the soul master, he can also absorb a 10,000-year soul ring that exceeds his own limit. Also, this student's actual combat ability is not bad. With level 31 soul power, he defeated Yan Zi, who was already a soul sect. Qin Ming released another bombshell, shocking everyone in Shrek. Level 3. Level 31 defeated the soul sect of level 40. Several people who heard this gasped again, feeling that the world suddenly became strange. Yes. Qin Ming nodded, as if he had thought of something, and then said with a smile, it's quite a coincidence that this student's martial spirit is the same as Tang San's, both are blue-silver grass. Everyone was stunned and looked at Tang San. At this time, Tang San's heart had completely sunk, but it didn't show on his face. He pretended to be calm and said, it's indeed quite a coincidence. At the same time, on the other side, Wu Xing and the three girls had walked out of the academy. Didn't you see that Yu Gai could still remain calm when he saw those three girls? Dugu Yan couldn't help but tease Wu Xingdao as he walked out of the academy, but she remembered that the guy in front of her was very greedy for Shrek Sanmei, and now he left without even saying hello. This seemed a bit inconsistent with his usual personality. Wu Xing rolled his eyelids and said angrily, I'm not a pedophile, why would I be interested now? That he did not deny that he did have thoughts about the Shrek 3 beauties, but that was 5 years after the end of the Continental Soul Master competition, and now they are just underage little girls, and there is a saying that at this age, the 3 beauties of Shrek, except for Zhu Qing, can barely get by. Ning Rongrong and Xiao Wu have not grown up, especially Xiao Wu, who is really average now. Sure enough, you still like old women. Hearing this, Dugu Yan was stunned for a moment, and then started to laugh foolishly. When Wu Xing heard this, he twitched his lips and said, do you believe I will write it down tomorrow? Don't, I'm just joking with you. Dugu Yan immediately stopped. What kind of joke was it? If the other party wrote it down, the Pope wouldn't be able to talk to her right away. It's good that you know. Wu Xing looked at Dugu Yan, who was scared for a second, and pouted, boy, you're still too young to fight with me. But having said that, Wu Xing, is what you said before true? Are those women really that scary? Dugu Yan asked again, thinking of the diary copy holders who made her sleepless last night. Of course, you think I'm kidding you. Wu Xing glanced at Dugu Yan lightly before replying. Dugu Yan, who received an affirmative answer, still had some disbelief on his face. This is too exaggerated. I really can't imagine how those women can be so powerful. How terrifying it is to destroy a world with a wave of your hand. What's so strange about this? I can only say that you have little knowledge. After Wu Xing finished speaking, he continued, in my original world, Douluo Continent was called the sewer of the fantasy world. What do you mean? Dugu Yan looked surprised, and Yi Lingling next to him was no exception. Looking at the surprised two women, Wu Xing did not explain, but said, even if I tell you now, it is difficult to understand. One day I will write it down in the diary when I am interested, and then you will understand through the diary annotations. Oh. Dugu Yan said, not anxious to know the answer. Su Ruoshi, who was next to her, saw the conversation between the two. She was originally happy to accompany her man to play, but now she felt very disappointed, just because she couldn't understand the conversation between them, not to mention interjecting. Even trying to understand one or two of them is a luxury. Okay, you learn how to be cool, don't have no discernment at all, and always ask random things. Wu Xing had already noticed Su Ruoshi's mood, and seeing that Dugu Yan wanted to ask something else, he immediately interrupted. Didn't this little girl realize that her good sister didn't say anything the whole time, and was always taking care of Su Ruoshi's feelings, but you kept returning the favor? After Wu Xing's reminder, Dugu Yan finally reacted and quickly showed an apologetic look and said, Sister Ruoshi, I'm sorry. Sister, I talked too much. No. It's okay. Su Ruoshi forced a smile and said. Ruoshi, let's ignore her. Wu Xing held Su Ruoshi's hand tightly, and then continued to comfort him. From now on, your man, I will tell you the contents of every diary I write. Yeah. Su Ruoshi nodded softly, her face finally no longer looking disappointed. When Dugu Yan next to her heard this, her face darkened. This dog man just said that she had no eyesight, but he even spread dog food in front of him. However, considering Su Ruoshi's situation, she did not refute the other party. After all, the two of them are lovers. It would be too immoral for me to take the spotlight.